Oh, sugar honey iced tea. It's the EAC Show.
Good day, ladies and gents. I'm Emilio A. Colon, and welcome to the EAC Show. Coming to you from sunny South Florida. I got Marcus Smack on the sound.
Yo.
I got my eldest, Inasia Colon, helping us out on the video today. I got Emilio Jr.'s in the building. And sitting next to me, I got UCF activist, overall sports enthusiast, the big one, Cameron Denny. Cam, what's going on, man?
Not much. You still feeling okay?
I'm good, man. Can't complain. Thank God for Dana White. Thank God for Vince McMahon, his crazy 74-year-old self. And thank God for all of the NFL stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like they were throwing us a bone here. They're like, all right, we know you've gone a few days without some sports. You know, here's a little fix. Here's a little smack to the arm, you know?
So let's just get into the list of topics, and then we'll start talking about what we ended up doing for this weekend. So, Marcus Mack, what are our list of topics for today's show?
Definitely thank God for the NFL. we got NFL off-season splash.
Yes, big splashes that happened today.
And we got Social Media Mondays.
Social Media Mondays is our segment that we started a couple episodes back. A lot of people enjoyed it. They like it a lot. Cam, how was your weekend, man? What'd you end up doing this weekend?
It was good.
With limited amount of sports.
Right. You know what? On the complete contrary, because there wasn't a lot of sports to watch, I actually had myself a pretty good Saturday with playing sports. Me and a couple buddies went out to Fort Lauderdale, found a park, and we played, kickball. We played slosh ball. You know what slosh ball is?
What's slosh ball?
We play. It's a wiffle ball, but you need to have a beer in your hand at all times.
You damn drunks. Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Here, real quick. What's your choice of beer? What is your choice of beer?
It depends. If I'm drinking quantity, if I'm drinking a lot of beer, I like either Bud Light, classic Bud Light, or Miller Lite, something like that.
Marcus Mack, what is your choice of beer, man?
You gonna ask me that right now?
No, I'm dead serious.
Corona.
Oh man,
Corona! I'm so guilty.
The virus.
I'm so guilty.
But listen, you gotta understand. We've been preaching the whole time. We gotta remind our viewers that Corona does not
has nothing to do with the
coronavirus.
Right.
So my choice of beer, unfortunately, I have a sentimental, an emotional attachment to either Heineken or Beck's. It's the two choices that my late father loved to drink, and I'm also more of a social drinker, so it depends. Like, if he's having a Corona, I'll have a Corona with him. If you're having a Bud Light, I'll have a Bud Light with you. It's not really, But if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick either Heineken or Beck's.
Right. I'm not picky either. To whatever's there, I'll drink it. But if I'm doing quality, I'll of course go something nicer.
So did you guys have a good time with us?
Oh yeah, we had a great time. I got burnt. I got a lot of sun doing it. It was fun to be outside. Everyone playing sports.
That's crazy because you were actually redder doing the push-ups on the last show than you are right now.
Well, I made sure to allow the tan to settle in, so it was more of a bronze and not a tomato red right now. But man, it was a lot of fun. It was we played kickball. I went 2 for 2 in kickball. I went 2 for 2 in slosh ball. It's really not a big deal, but some would say I was the MVP out there.
Let me explain something to you. This weekend, without sports, other than the UFC and the WWE that we had, was amazing. Because I got to pick up on so much stuff. New stuff that I didn't know about. I learned about Rickson Gracie, which is hands down, some people, the greatest MMA fighter of all time. Like,
why do I know this name?
Because he's a Gracie. He's literally a Gracie. He's part of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Brazilian family tree. And he has over 400. I posted a little story on IG, or the show's IG, when I started watching some of it, and he's just legendary. I mean, he's known for beating people bloody. Like
is he still fighting, or is he?
No, he's done. He's retired. He's finished. He's older. But I mean, he was literally 10 years before UFC became what it was. So he almost predated it.
So even before Ken Shamrock and Tito Ortiz.
He was there, but he was making much more money. So he didn't have to fight in that because that was beneath him.
Yeah.
He was making all that money in Tokyo, fighting in things out there in Japan, and Pride, fighting and that stuff.
Right,
so he was like, listen, I'm not doing UFC. That's not enough for me. That's beneath me.
Yeah.
So they let the younger brother, Royce Gracie, fight. Oh. And Royce is the one that fought in UFC 1, UFC 2, UFC 3.
I'm picking up on all this right now. You just said Royce Gracie. Now I remember this. So I listened to a podcast, the 30 for 30 podcast. ESPN does their 30 for 30 video series, documentaries. They also had a podcast that's I think 45 minutes to an hour per episode. And they had one that I listened to a couple months back on UFC and how UFC got started and UFC 1.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically UFC 1, everybody wanted Hickson to fight. it's kind of weird because his name is Hickson, but it's spelled Rickson.
Okay.
Hickson Gracie to fight, and Hickson's father did not want that. He wanted Hoist to fight because Hoist was smaller.
And he was the younger one,
He was the younger one, so he's going to promote him because Hickson already had a name for himself. Now, Marcus Mack, I'm going to tell you about a story that I ended up finding out about this as I learned over this weekend. And Hickson Gracie was so good that people in Japan would come over to his dojo in California and challenge him. So this one guy shows up, whole bunch of Japanese press and everything and all this, that, and third, shows up to his dojo and challenges him to a fight. So Hickson says, listen, don't let in the press that's here from Japan. Leave them outside the dojo. Let him come in and fight. We'll fight. One-on-one, we'll fight. No money, no nothing, we'll fight. He beats this guy bloody to a pulp. After he's done, he tells them, let the press in. So the press starts taking pictures of the guy. He's all bleeding and this, that, and third, blah, 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 blah.
And this was before UFC was huge. So
So the story is the guy goes back to Japan and tells the story that they jumped him at the dojo. Unbeknownst to that guy, they were recording it and they went to Japan and they showed the recording and they showed that he didn't get jumped. That's how legendary this guy is.
Yeah, that whole family, like you said, that's pretty wild to think about that story, which pretty much helped spawn, I guess, the allure of UFC.
Oh, absolutely. That family is the family of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They are the representative. The Gracie family is the name. But that was some of the stuff that I was able to learn over the weekend. I also looked up a couple of other things. My wife was like, babe, you have nothing to watch. And then come to find out, we're watching stuff.
Yeah.
She literally was watching the UFC fights that happened over the weekend in UFC Brasilia. And they were good fights, man.
Yeah.
They really were. They really were good fights. Shout out to Oliveras, who ended up beating Lee in the third round. It was back and forth, and sure enough, Oliveras got him to choke him out. It was kind of weird because there were no fans in the crowd, but I mean, it was good fighting. It was exceptional fighting.
Yeah, I missed that, so I'll have to rewatch that and follow up and watch those fights. That was one that took place in the Brazil, right?
Yes. The funniest part about the actual fighting was that the commentator who was interviewing everybody after the fights were over actually said to the crowd, let's hear it for such and such. And you're like, there's no one here. Like, what are you talking about? There's no fans. Yeah. And then one of the commentators trolls him and is like, yay! He starts screaming for him to help him out with the situation. So, I mean, it was really good. It was enjoyable. Ended up watching a few movies, sports-related movies, a couple 30 for 30s. Just
trying to fill the void.
Let me explain something to you. The 30 for 30 with Deion Sanders, called Double Play, where he tries to attempt to play two sports in one day. Hands down, one of the best 30 for 30s you'll ever watch.
Okay.
Check it out on ESPN without question.
I didn't see that, but just speaking of that 30 for 30, the one I mentioned, the podcast series, for all of you that are interested in UFC, please go listen to it because it tells you how, and I'm gonna send it to you. It tells you how everything was created. The first UFC one, not too many guys in mixed martial arts wanted to join it because they didn't think anything was gonna come of it.
Right.
So they went out and they scouted whatever they could find. They got a sumo wrestler, a regular wrestler, a karate guy. They got like one from each like branch of fighting and made it the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
It's crazy that you mentioned that because I actually watched, because you know how on social media and on YouTube they create like these conspiracy theory videos or whatever it may be. I actually watched a conspiracy theory video about UFC 1 and how it was staged by the Gracies on purpose because they wanted Hoist to take on specific fighters that couldn't compete with him, match what he did, like with the grappling, or they didn't know that type of fighting. You understand? I don't know if it's necessarily true. I don't have a side in it at all, but it was interesting to watch because they were like, well, no one else wore a gi. Only Hoist wore a gi, and none of the other fighters were really fighters that could, that knew about takedowns or knew how to protect themselves on the ground.
Right. The majority of the fighters in UFC 1 were all like had striking ability, right?
Yes.
They were branching from boxing, or they had this, that, kickboxing. The Gracies, they They focused on grappling and submission.
Right.
So I think Royce Gracie and I think they like choked everyone out.
Every last one. They said it in the conspiracy theory video that he didn't throw one punch. He didn't throw one punch in all the fight. And back then you had to win 3 fights in one night to be the champion. So it wasn't like how we watch now. We see UFC, you see McGregor, or you see Khabib, or you see Tony Ferguson, or these guys fighting, and they only fight one fight for another few months. Royce Gracie had to fight 3 people in one night to win UFC 1.
Didn't throw one punch, just waited for his opening and then just yoked everyone out.
Just choked them out.
I love
literally,
that. That's a flex.
Now, there was also the sumo wrestler that you're mentioning. The sumo wrestler actually fought a guy from the Netherlands. So this guy from the Netherlands has to be maybe like 6'2", 6'3", big tall guy, lanky guy, and he's a karate guy. And the sumo wrestler's like 400-something pounds. Mm-hmm. Listen to me. The guy from the Netherlands kicks the sumo wrestler in the face. His tooth flies out his mouth. And then the guy ends up punching him, and they stop the fight. They literally stopped the fight. Once the guy was on the ground, the sumo wrestler was on the ground, he's bloody, and his tooth is flying. The referee said, that's enough. No more. I'm done. The sumo wrestler, who's 400 pounds, was like, yo, what are you doing? This is nothing to me. Like, this is light. This is light for me.
And you know what? That sumo wrestler, now that we're talking about this, it's all coming back to me, the documentary I listened to. That sumo wrestler saved the entire UFC. Like they wouldn't have gone forward without what he did. They had the night before of the fights, they had all of these guys, these hard dudes, right, that were about to fight each other the next day in a like a conference room, whatever, just to go over the rules, whatever the rules they were. And they're all mad because they're like, this was supposed to be no rules, this is ultimate fighting. And they said the only rules is you have to get your well, yeah, stuff like that, right? Technical things like that. But they mentioned that you had to wear gloves, right? And that you had to take your shoes off. Mm-hmm. And like over half the participants weren't about it. They're like, why do we have to? No, I'm not taking my shoes off. And they were all about to like walk out. They started screaming. And then the sumo wrestler stood up and he goes, F this, sugar honey iced tea. Let's just fight. And the whole room stopped, looked at each other. And then said, like, all right, sign the waivers.
Let's just fight. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, if you really think back on it, what Royce had to do back then was warrior type stuff. Even if it was just choking a person out, to have to fight 3 fights in one night to be crowned the champion, and he won number 1, he won number 2, and he won number 3. He won.
Yeah. All the guys outweighed him too.
Outweighed him completely.
So you had to win best 2 out of 3.
It was bracket style. It was bracket style.
No, you had to win all of them, sir.
So he had to win 3 bouts to
be the champion.
The whole thing.
Wow.
You can look it up later on, Marcus Mack. Check it out. Find out UFC 1 and look up Royce Gracie, ROYCE Gracie, GRACIE. Yeah. You can look it up, and literally he had to fight 3 fights in one night to be a champion.
Wow.
What about you, Maurice Mack? What'd you do this weekend?
Yeah, what did you end up doing? Related? Yeah, anything, man?
Nothing sports related. I did a lot of work and a lot of family stuff.
That's good, man. That's. But I mean, now more than ever, that's extremely important. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's always so busy doing other stuff. Some of this coronavirus stuff and having us indoors and stuff like that, being locked down a little bit. You end up doing a lot more family. Hey, I was able to get away with a lot of family stuff this weekend.
Like what?
Trying to inform my wife, my daughter, my son on stuff that I didn't even know about. You know what I'm saying? So when I come home and I learned about Hicks and Gracie, I put it on them.
Yeah,
so,
you were a sports historian.
Yeah, so I was the sports, and I was like, you have to watch this and look at how he trains. And then I was able to combine that Hicks and Gracie was in the original first Hulk movie of Marvel. So then I was able to tell the kids, and the kids got all excited because they're like, oh wow, superhero, Marvel, right, superhero. Right. Like, and that's how it went. You know what I mean? Showing them.
You see that? Coronavirus, bringing families together.
Coronavirus, bringing families together. So I was able to show the kids, Hicks and Gracie was in the Hulk movie, the original Hulk movie, and I was able to show them like videos of him in Japan and him in Brazil, and he does this like breathing thing. Marcus Mack, you got to pull it up on YouTube. He has this breathing thing that he does. He sucks in his stomach muscles far in. Like he has so much control of his body that it looks like his whole stomach goes to touch his back.
Right, it's a breathing apparatus. I don't know what it does, but Michael Phelps does the same thing before his races.
It's
I don't know.
Nutty. You have to look it up. You have to pull it up when you get a chance.
Does it have more to do with his lungs or his stomach muscles?
It has to do with all of it. It's all combined. Like for him, it's like my breathing, which has to do with my lungs, and then his actual, he controls his stomach
in so much. His stomach looks like it's going in because he's taking all that oxygen.
It literally looks like his stomach touches his back. That's how close he pulls his stomach.
I don't know. It wouldn't work for any of us. We got a lot of stomach to.
Then he does these things where he's literally like in cold water, freezing cold water, and he's just breathing all of it in, like all of it, and like
cryotherapy almost.
Almost like that. Like he just one with nature and earth, and you're like, yo, what are you, like a monkey? Like,
like
you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you, like?
That's that Bruce.
He believes in all of that. He believes in all that.
Had some really crazy breathing.
He was a philosopher about his sports.
He believes in all of that, and you know it was crazy because if it wasn't for, I knew who Hoist Gracie was because I remember all of UFC 1 and his amazing feats. I never knew who his brother was. I wouldn't have, if it wasn't for the coronavirus, I would not find out who Hickson Gracie was.
I'm telling you, man. See, there's good things and bad things with this, but like I said, if you get the chance, listen to that that podcast, the 30 for 30 podcast. And whatever else we could find here. I was supposed to bring in a dartboard today. I'll have to remember that on Wednesday.
I actually spoke about that when I got home because my wife, she saw that video of the guy, I forgot his name, but hitting the nine in a row.
Van Groot.
Yeah, whatever his name is. She saw the video. Yep. And then when I went home, and we mentioned it on the show, and I went home and I spoke about it, she was like, oh, that was the video you sent me? And I was like, yep, that was the video I sent you.
Yeah, we talked about it, and then an hour later, somebody posted it like, this is what I'm watching.
Exactly, without question. Well, listen, this part of the show is brought to you by El Cubano Sandwich Shop.com. Use the promo code EAC and receive discounts on online pickups or delivery orders. Enjoy a cafe con leche or a natural pre-workout shot of that Cuban coffee to start your day. The daily lunch specials and steak sandwiches are next level. Once again, use the promo code EAC. That's ElCubanoSandwichShop.com or 954-906-5110. Remember, use the promo code EAC. Mac, why don't we get into topic number 2?
All right, well, we're going straight into NFL offseason splash.
NFL offseason splash. Thank God for all the stuff that happened over the weekend, and you know, because basically all this started to happen once the CBA was agreed upon. Yeah. Once the players agreed upon the CBA, the brand new collective bargaining agreement for the next 10 years, everything just started a domino effect.
Yes, they pretty much opened up the floodgates for all this extra news to come out, which was great. It got all of us busy, got all of us in the sports feel again. Now, Marcus, hey, shout out one more game. Give me an elbow.
Oh yeah, one more game.
One more NFL game.
So listen. So you know, Marcus Mack, if you could put this or figure out a way to put this into either IG or social media, whatever it may be, I want to give a shout out to Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill got a 4-year, $118 million deal. Ryan Tannehill should be doing the I Get Money dance, 50 Cent dance, because he just got money.
Yeah, and everyone's a little upset that they decided to pay him and not King Henry, Your Highness Derrick Henry.
So here's the domino effect. So Ryan Tannehill gets 118. He gets 62 guaranteed, 90-something fully guaranteed, as long as he stay healthy. Now the domino effect is because they paid him, you have to franchise tag King Henry.
Right, which is terrible. Everyone's franchising their offensive tackle and their outside linebacker and their franchise tagging.
How many franchise tag guys were there? Was a ton today.
Yeah,
a ton.
But not a high profile guy like Derrick Henry. That's a shame. Everyone was expecting him to get paid.
That got exclusive tag. That got franchise tag too, just an exclusive tag, meaning they can still negotiate a long-term deal with him.
Sure, but he did get over $34 million a year.
Yeah, that got to I Get Money too, Marcus. Dak Prescott for the Cowboys quarterback is going to average about $33 million a season.
And it's all because of the new collective bargaining agreement. Because last year he asked for $30 million, and he didn't even have that great of a year this past year. So I feel terrible for Derrick Henry. Everyone was expecting, now that they dropped Dion Lewis, all that extra money was going to Derrick Henry's new deal being hashed out, and now they're just putting the tag on him. So it's going to be
so much happened today. So Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry was some of the stuff that happened over the weekend. Breaking news just right now. I know you saw it earlier. You got Jimmy Graham to the Chicago Bears. What was the exact number?
2 year, $16 million, 9 guaranteed.
So he leaves the Packers, stays in the division, plays for the Bears, and then,
they can get our leftovers.
And then the Miami Dolphins ended up taking the cornerback from the Dallas Cowboys, Byron Jones.
Yep.
And they gave him, I think it's a 5-year deal, $82 million. Good
for him. He's a great cornerback, and he's still within his first 5-6 years of his career.
So wait, sorry to cut you.
No, you're good.
For that Ryan Tannehill contract, there was no contingencies, 2 years guaranteed.
Oh no. So his guaranteed money is $61 million. That's guaranteed.
Okay.
As soon as you sign, You could die. You can break your leg the next day, and you're getting $62 million regardless. But his fulfillment completely is $91 million. So meaning, like, as long as he stays healthy and he's producing, he's getting 91 of that 118 for sure.
Wow. Emilio, when Tannehill was leaving the Dolphins, right, before he got shipped off to Tennessee, if I were to give you odds on after this year or so, Tannehill's going to get this number,
he's blessed.
What would you put those odds on?
22-1. He's blessed.
Yeah, I know.
He's blessed, man. I mean, he's gotten the majority of his first major contract with the Dolphins. He received all of his rookie money with the Dolphins. He ended up getting traded to Tennessee. Tennessee ended up taking that money on. You know, the Dolphins were paying a portion of it, but they took that money on as well. And now he gets a really, really big deal with the Tennessee Titans. And it's just, that guy's blessed. He's counting his chickens and thank his lucky stars and all that good stuff. He's blessed.
He's got a hot wife. He's got a lot of money now.
He's good. He don't
Tennessee.
Shout out to his hot wife.
But not only that, it's tough to see this now because now we know Tom Brady's not going there. No, that was sort of an open end that is closed up now.
You've done a better job than I have. I don't want to discuss anything about Tom until I see Tom leave. Like, and in all actuality, until I see Tom not in New England, I'm still thinking Tom's going to be in New England.
We'll get to that. After
so also the Dolphins also today ended up signing Eric Flowers, offensive tackle from the Washington Redskins, who was able to create a value for himself after having a horrid season with the Giants. He had a really good season with the Redskins. So the Dolphins also signed him.
Yeah, they desperately needed him after getting rid of Tunsil, Larry Tunsil from last year. So good pickup by the Dolphins.
Now, the biggest splash that everybody is complaining about is superstar wide receiver for the Houston Texans, DeAndre Hopkins, getting traded to the Arizona Cardinals for pretty much David Johnson.
An old, a very effective running back, but an old injury-prone running back and 1 5th-round pick.
Now, Cam, you're going to get into why this is such a bad deal, and then I'm going to get into why I love the deal for Houston.
I don't think it's an extremely bad deal. I do think it's lopsided, and the Cardinals came out on top. So I'm not going on a full rant against Bill O'Brien, who pretty much runs the entire show in Houston.
He is the GM and the coach for you guys that don't know.
Right, and I love Derek Johnson, even though he's a little older and he's injury
David
prone.
Johnson.
Excuse me, thank you, David Johnson. I love him even though he has some baggage with him, and I love him in Houston because Houston, over the last X amount of years, has been trying to find a running back desperately. They have been trying to establish a running game to take the pressure off of Deshaun Watson and his receiving corps, and they need to better their offensive line. So I like to see them make an offensive line move, maybe in the draft or something. But
for me, this is a statement by Bill O'Brien telling everybody in the NFL world that Deshaun Watson is my guy and this is who I'm going forward with. You already have J.J. Watt, who makes a lot of money on that team. DeAndre Hopkins was making more money than Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's contract is going to come up. You're going to have to make him one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, and you can't do that if you have DeAndre Hopkins on your team. I think this is Bill O'Brien saying, I think Deshaun Watson is the Michael Jordan of football. He can make others better. He can do it himself. I'm going to ride with him. I'm going to pay him. He's going to be the future of this franchise. We're going to sit there and we're going to trade DeAndre Hopkins, get a serviceable back in return, and free up a lot of money for the future. This is a money transaction, 100%. This is pure great business by the Houston Texans, by Bill O'Brien, and by the ownership, hands down.
I agree with you because I do hold up Deshaun Watson very highly. You said Michael Jordan-esque, but simply because of what he can facilitate, how he makes people better around him. So I'm giving you a pass on that. But I love Deshaun Watson. I think he's a
But those are not my words. Those are Dabo Sweeney's words. I'm just repeating what Dabo said.
Right.
Yeah. Those are not my words. Yeah, quote it. Sorry. Those are not my words. Those are Dabo's.
But he is that good. He's a generational player. But I just hate how it has to come at the expense of the best wide receiver in the league.
But you have to do, when you're in that position, you have to do what's best for the franchise. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. The fantasy football owners out there like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, he's doing what hard decisions have to be made in order to better the franchise. you're not going to be able to keep all of them on the same team. You already have J.J. Watt, who's the defensive standout on that team. He's the highest paid player on the defensive side of the ball. I don't see that changing anytime soon. So Deshaun Watson has to be and will be the highest paid player on the offensive side of the ball. And you can't do that if DeAndre Hopkins is there. Deshaun Watson makes Fells better. Their tight end. Stills better. Their wide receiver. Tiki Cutie better. He makes.
Don't even say his name.
What's the
Will Fuller?
Will Fuller. As long as Will Fuller can stay healthy, he is the complete over the top player that Deshaun Watson needs.
You just said it, and that's my exact take. I had Will Fuller in fantasy.
Here he goes. See? The NFL for him stands for National Fantasy.
No. I'm just relating it to my feelings on Will Fuller as a football player. It was my fault for taking him, and my fault for starting him in the championship game last year in fantasy. But not to jump you there. That's why this whole thing. I understand paying Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Watson, and if it needs to come at the expense of Hopkins, so be it. But they need to make a move at receiver, whether it's in free agency, making a trade, or using their first pick to draft a CeeDee Lamb or whoever else. Guy out of Alabama.
They have a second round pick. So they will. They'll figure out something. This is a very, very big wide receiver draft, so they'll find something. And look, shout outs to the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are doing a great job. Your transition tag Kenyon Drake, so you're going to be able to match any deal. If he gets any deal out there, you're going to be able to match it.
You got Chase Edmonds, who's also a good running back.
Chase Edmonds is a good running back. You got Larry Fitzgerald. You got DeAndre Hopkins.
Christian Kirk, who I love. You got
Christian Kirk also out there as well. Kyler Murray has to be loving life right now.
Yeah, he's got a very good offense right now.
So shout out to Coach Kingsbury and those guys in Arizona for doing a really good job and improving their team. There was so much that went on today. There was so many list of players that ended up getting franchise tagged or they ended up getting new deals with new teams. We saw Austin Hooper ended up going to the Browns and he signed the highest paid tight end deal in NFL history. We also saw Case Keenum signed a deal with the Browns to back up Baker Mayfield. It was it was like a $16 or $18 million deal, and it's $10 million of a guarantee. That to me tells me that Stefanski, I think his name is Stefanski's his new name, the coach of the Browns. He doesn't really trust Baker and needed that backup plan. It's basically like having Teddy Bridgewater for Drew Brees.
Right. Yeah, I do agree. And Case Keenum, shout out to him making his money. He's sort of a traveling man now, just picking up, contract to contract.
Stefanski and Keenum have a relationship because remember they used to be in Minnesota together.
Oh, that's right. He is from Minnesota, Stefanski. See, it's just a little tough because Baker, he was supposed to have
weapons.
This huge, weapons and this huge year last year.
Chubbs, Njoku, Beckham, Jarvis Landry.
Oh yeah.
Now you have Austin Hooper. There's no
Kareem Hunt.
There's no excuse.
Right. There's zero excuse. And it's funny. I saw Bleacher Report. They put out a post today with all those guys you just named and said the Browns offensive lineup and like one of those emojis with like a head blowing up or whatever. And I read through all the comments and it's like, oh, not this again. Like you literally posted this last year before the season started. Like Browns fans know exactly what's going to come. They're going to go 8-8, just like always. 8-9 now. Excuse me, CBA, new CBA. But it is a little interesting to see the Case Keenum move.
But wait, that 17th game doesn't come into place right away.
It just starts next year.
Next year, yeah, it doesn't come into play right away.
So 8-8 this year.
Yeah.
But not only that, but the Browns when they signed Austin Hooper, I thought it was a lock that the Falcons were going to sign Austin Hooper. I think he truly is a top. I don't want to say the top side end because I think that's Travis Kelce.
Top five.
Right, but after Travis Kelce, I think he's the top.
But you got Kelce, you got Kelce, you got Kittle, you got what's the guy's name from the guy from Baltimore, and then you got the guy from the Chargers,
Hunter Henry. Yeah, he's good also. But the Falcons made a lot of moves as well. And actually, before I saw the Austin Hooper trade, I saw that the Falcons traded with Baltimore.
Yeah, to get Hayden Hurst.
The tight end behind, what's his name, Mark Andrews?
Yeah,
behind Mark Andrews. So they got Hayden Hurst and a 5th round and a 2nd round pick for, they traded a 2nd and 5th round for Hayden Hurst and a 4th round. So I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, don't they have Austin Hooper? What are they doing here? And then I saw the Austin Hooper trade hit. So I don't know if I agree with it, but I understand.
They also cut Devontae Freeman. They saved some money doing that. They released him. Yeah, they cut him. So they saved some money doing that. And I mean, today in football was amazing. It was really good. I mean, obviously you got Mr. Terrific, Mr. Tom, Mr. Bunchin still not deciding where he's gonna go.
Right, he'll be fine. They'll get Stephon Diggs or something. They'll tell Devontae Freeman to drop 20 pounds, and you'll see him in a Patriots jersey next year. They're always scheming. They're gonna figure something out.
Hey, speaking of Stephon Diggs is so shout out to Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins got an extension too. $66 million, 61 at signing, guaranteed. He got paid, and Stephon Diggs is tired of it. He was on social media saying it's time for change, like he's done.
Yeah, in his words, it's time for a new beginning, is what he tweeted. I don't know how. Was it right after that deal came out for Cousins?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Stephon probably wants more money or an extension or whatever, and backdoor agent talk or whatever, and realizing like, you know what, they're not really engaging and trying to sign us here long term, and then all of a sudden they announce that Kirk Cousins gets a new deal, and you're like, well, there goes my money. So I gotta find my bag somewhere else. So I mean, but what I really want to talk about there's a lot of NFL teams that aren't doing much. Obviously, the Patriots is one of them. Green Bay Packers is another one.
That's always the Green Bay Packers.
Green Bay Packers is another one.
The Green Bay Packers are always silent and free agents.
You barely hear anything from the Seattle Seahawks.
I think they would be in the running for Stephon Diggs.
Like, I mean, it's crazy. Some of these teams, they just sit back and they're like, we're good. We don't got to worry. Like,
yeah.
I'm confused.
A lot of teams like to build in the draft. They look through unsigned waivers. They look through the draft. They try to pick up guys that are released. So some people, the Packers built their dynasty off doing that. They won from Favre to 2010 when Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl. That's all they did. They didn't pick up. We got the Packers. I say we. The Green Bay Packers picked up
Homer.
Right. They picked up Julius Peppers. I remember in 2012, 13, 14, and it was a shock because we never do stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Now we have new management that's open for that.
You got the 49ers who end up signing Eric Armstead to a 5-year, $85 million contract, and then that effect ends up having an effect on them trading Buckner from San Francisco over to the Colts, and the Colts are going to make Buckner one of the highest paid defensive tackles in the league.
He's that good, so I understand it, but imagine going from San Francisco to Indianapolis, from living in San Fran to moving to Indianapolis. Man, it's truly a business.
And then we still have so much still to mention on other players. You got Andy Dalton that still doesn't have a home. You got Phillip Rivers that still doesn't have a home. Teddy Bridgewater still doesn't have a home. Marcus Mariota still doesn't have a home. We have so many players that we're still going to see with new places.
Right, it's exciting, and that all starts this upcoming week, the 18th, 2 days.
Right, and speaking about just Andy Dalton, I forgot they also franchise tagged AJ Green, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, that's bad on him. That's he was supposed to leave. He wanted to leave bad.
Now, this part of the show is brought to you by ElCubanoSandwichShop.com. Use the promo code EAC and receive discounts on online pickups or delivery orders. Enjoy a cafe con leche or a natural pre-workout shot of Cuban coffee to start your day. The daily lunch specials and their steak sandwich is next level. Once again, use the promo code EAC. That's ElCubanoSandwichShop.com or 954-906-5110. Remember, use the promo code EAC.
Do you think AJ Green is more receptive to staying in Cincinnati now that they think Joe Burrow is going to be throwing him the ball?
That is a great question. I think that money changes everything. I think franchise tagging AJ Green is smart. And then if you could discuss maybe coming up with a deal eventually, because at the end of the day, these guys get paid to play football. So, so if you go to AJ Green and say, look, we did this to protect ourselves. If you could stay healthy, we'll work something out. We'll figure something out. We'll do right by you. You've been here with us for so long. I think that owner, Brown, I think it's Paul Brown is his name. I'm not mistaken. Sure. But I think he understands and he's loyal to AJ Green and be like, listen, we'll do the right thing by you. Help this kid out. You're still a productive wide receiver. Help this kid out. We'll do right by you. You do right by us.
Yeah, he's got one more contract before he retires, so they'll sign him probably a big
exciting stuff that went on in the NFL today. I think we covered pretty much a lot of it. I know there was a couple of other franchise tags. I saw the offensive tackle in New England. I saw the Giants.
The Falcons trade for Calais Campbell, 5th round pick.
Oh yeah, the Calais Campbell trade, correct? Yes. So it wasn't the Falcons. It was the Ravens. Calais Campbell went to the Ravens from Jacksonville.
He did go to the Ravens.
Yes,
okay. Yeah.
He went from the Ravens from Jacksonville. I saw the Giants had one of the Williams kids, the one from USC that used to play for the Jets. They franchise tagged him. So there was a lot of guys that ended up getting franchise tags because you can't come to agreements with them or how much you're going to pay them, but you still see them as valuable assets to your team. So a lot of guys were kept. A lot of guys are going to get deals or get deals in the future.
Yeah.
There's going to be more money spent as soon as Tom Terrific decides where he wants to play, whether that's going to be the West Coast, whether that's going to be down in South Florida where there's no state income tax like you stated earlier, Camp. Or go back to New England. All that is going to have literally a domino effect because once Tom decides, then you get Andy Dalton that picks his place and Phillip Rivers picks his place.
It's a domino effect from there.
I think Jameis is going to be on the board for a while.
You think so?
I mean,
he just got LASIK eye surgery. Come on,
he'll still throw 30 picks and get caught in public stealing crab legs. Crab legs. I mean, how does that even happen? I mean, I would understand if you get caught stealing a pub sub, but like crab legs?
Yeah, how do you inconspicuously walk out of a store with crab legs, like a bundle of crab legs?
That doesn't even make sense. So then we're gonna get. Are we done? We're done there with that?
We're done there. There's a couple other things we can always mention after.
So we're gonna get into social media Mondays, and I know Social Media Mondays has been really, really good. The fans like it a lot. It's basically where Marcus, myself, and Cameron send things back and forth to each other throughout the weekend, and we end up discussing it on Monday. So I know the Social Media Monday that we're going to discuss is now the NFL is not going to suspend players for marijuana.
Yeah, it's pretty groundbreaking, and they kind of just lofted it out there. Like, I was just going through my feed and saw it. Oh, looks like weed's legal now in the NFL. So that's a huge deal, and it's kind of just being masked by all this like DeAndre Hopkins trade talk. But that's somewhere right now. Josh Gordon is punching the air.
Josh Gordon has to be like, where the hell was this 5 years ago?
I know.
Justin Blackmon has to be sitting there saying,
"Wow, what a name!" Yeah.
Justin Blackmon has to be like, "Yo." Ricky Williams has to be like, "I've been telling you this for decades."
Ricky Williams is a chiefer way before his time.
Ricky Williams didn't even hide it. Like Ricky was like, "I like smoking weed."
Yeah, I'm gonna move somewhere and just do that.
That's all he wanted to do. But no, I mean, obviously it's because a lot of NFL players, they do smoke marijuana. It does calm them down. They found healing properties in it, and they figure out a way to use it, and it benefits them. And now they relax and they calm down. But now the NFL is just getting with the times and deciding that they're not going to suspend these players anymore.
I love that. I can't even imagine what was going through Josh Gordon's head right now. Does he come back to the league? Is he still? He always says like once he got caught. I think it was like 3, 4, or 5 times that he got caught. And he's always like, I have a problem. Is it now like I'm just a recreational user? Does he come back on his I have a problem
I got
stance?
a better question for you, Cam. So let me get this straight. So you mean to tell me if a player decides he's balling, he has a great game or whatever, or he didn't have a good game or whatever, right after the game is over, he can just light a blunt up and
roll one up in the locker room?
Roll one up in the locker room and keep it moving?
Yeah, unless
like, can you puff L's in front of Roger Goodell and nothing happens to you?
I wouldn't push your luck. It's probably one of those things where it's like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. Like, do it once you get back home or whatever, back to the hotel room.
But you can't suspend me for it. So what's can we be on some Steven Jackson and literally just smoke?
Well, I guess it would have to. Now that he's legalized it league-wise, it would have to depend on where they are. Now, if they're playing a game in Denver,
you get high all day.
Right, you can probably do it right in the locker room, right? Mile High Stadium.
You get high all day.
Right. But if you're doing it somewhere to where maybe the rules aren't as progressive. Like let's say like a Minnesota, I don't know. Maybe then you can't do it. And that's it's probably gonna go by week.
Yo, Marcus Mack, I think you should add at the end of this like that famous Nate Dogg said, "Smoke weed every day."
Add that in, please.
Add that in. So the second post that we shared this whole weekend was basically the odds of where is Tom Terrific, Tom Brady, Tom Bunchin going to land, Mr. Bunchin going to land, and what team he's going to play for.
Yeah, so I sent you this earlier, Emilio, and it's funny because I said to you, you called me yesterday on Saturday. Yeah, 2 days ago. You called me 2 days ago, and you were just talking about where, what do you think, Tom Brady, blah, blah, blah. We were lightly talking about it, and I said, watch out for Tampa. I said that. I said they have a great defense. They have great weapons. No state tax in Florida. And I told you to watch out for that. And then this came out yesterday, these odds, via Odds Shark. So shout out Odds Shark on Twitter. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are now the betting favorite to sign Tom Brady at minus 150. The rest of the teams, the Patriots at plus 110, so almost even odds. The Chargers at plus 600.
I'll take the Pats.
You'll take the Pats? I mean, plus money, there you go. 49ers at plus 1,000. Raiders at plus 1,200. 49ers at plus 1,000. Colts at plus 1,800. Bears at plus 5,000. Cowboys plus 5,000. And Dolphins plus 5,000.
Well, we know he's not going to the Cowboys anymore because Dak signed that deal. So I still think until he leaves New England, he's in New England. Where he lives shouldn't matter. I mean, whether his house is there or whatever, these guys have private planes. They'll make adjustments for Tom. I mean, this is not nothing new in sports. Like, owners make concessions for better players. In soccer, some certain players agree to have certain access to quote-unquote team planes to be able to go back home. I know John Lester has access to club chartered flights, private charter flights on through his contract, and he has a certain amount of hours that he can use, and he actually ends up giving those hours away. Alex Rodriguez, same thing. Like, these are parts of the contract negotiations that you end up agreeing to later on. So Tom could be like, look, I don't live in New England no more. I don't live in Connecticut or whatever it may be. I need a private plane that's going to take me to and from, after our games home, and then so I can get back because I'm not coming in on Mondays anyway.
That always can happen. Philip Rivers did something similar to when the team moved to Los Angeles. He was commuting back and forth on a daily basis from San Diego. But I know everyone in the media and sports media is beating the heck out of this Tom Brady and where is he going story. But it is something to note that he did put his house up for sale in New England.
I just don't think at 40-something years old, do you really want to go somewhere else and learn a new offense? And like,
what did I tell you 2 weeks ago? At 40 years old, I didn't think Brett Favre was going to go somewhere else.
I mean,
how
many years do you really think that Tom Brady have left in him?
3 years.
But I mean, you can make a lot of money in 3 years.
Of course,
you can make a lot of money, and if you're on a competitive team, you can you can make another run for a championship.
I think he's gonna make way more money outside of the league. In the next 3 years.
Of course, absolutely. He doesn't even make the most money in his family. His wife makes more money than him. Like, he doesn't even make the most money in his family. So the money thing is not the problem. I just think more of a comfort thing than anything else. You got, situations to where when you got a new quarterback and a new system, you want to be at the facility as much as possible. And Tom is at an age where, unless he has to be at the facility, he doesn't need to be at the facility.
Right, other things matter to him.
Yeah, spending time with his family and his kids, that's more important at this age. But he's still a hard worker. He still puts it in all the time. I just feel like until he's gone from New England, he's still be in New England.
I hear you. And going back to what I said, Brett Favre's situation was a little different. They were sort of forcing his way out because they knew what they had in Aaron Rodgers, who was riding the pine for 3 years. This is a situation to where it just feels like time's up. There's a little bit of a trouble in paradise in New England because you have the owner, Bob Kraft, who sees Tom Brady as a son and doesn't want him to leave, loves Tom Brady. And then you have Bill Belichick, who he's loyal to, who wants to move on and wants to get like a Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, guy that can run, wants to start the new step of his career.
This is just NFL breaking news. The NFL postponed OTAs. So OTAs will be suspended indefinitely. And that's even more of a reason on why Tom Brady, in my opinion, ends up back in New England, because if you are part of a new team, you get there early, you work out with the guys or whatever, this, that, and third, and now the NFL is completely getting rid of it. So
I don't know if this. I understand March Madness was a hit. It hurt me to see that not being played this year. Baseball being postponed, all these other sports.
That's being postponed till May, by the way.
Till May?
Till May.
So there you go. Watch out for that. Basketball being essentially canceled indefinitely. But if they postpone or cancel the NFL or college football this year, I might have a mental breakdown.
Tell them why you mad. Cameron's segment is going to be on fire with that one.
I'm going to be furious. Forget mad. If we're not going to be able to have football this year, man, and we valued XFL, and I miss XFL now.
Absolutely. See, I told you. I told everybody. I told them. They didn't understand it, and I told them. But I would never turn my back on or never doubt the evil genius that Bill Belichick is. So even if he ends up losing Tom Brady, he could bring in a Dalton, he could bring in a Mariota, and watch those guys just turn into something special. He's that good of a coach.
Too bad we're not going to see it. We're going to be watching Tetris this week.
Oh, speaking of that, so the last thing on social media Monday, before we finish this episode, is basically a underdog 16-year-old going against a 7-time champion. And this is what happens when the coronavirus takes sports from us.
Some 40-year-old guy
going against some 40-year-old guy. Literally, they're playing on these box TVs and the old Nintendos with the 2 buttons. You know what I'm saying? They're playing Tetris, and they're at level 31, and this 16-year-old underdog defeats the 7-time champion in Tetris.
Man, huge for the Tetris world out there and all the fans. I couldn't even get your attention.
They had commentators.
And they had fans. You were watching it. I was trying to do the pre-production, trying to tell you what we're talking about. And you were dialed in on this 6-minute video. There was fans screaming in the background, watching Tetris.
The commentators were having aneurysms, like literally, like talking about. He's Tetrising now. He's Tetrising now. This is amazing. This is amazing. It was nuts. But this is what the coronavirus has done to us. So we really do appreciate you guys checking out episode 16. Episode 17 we'll be shooting on Wednesday.
With darts. We're going to play some darts.
We're going to play some darts. Before that, Marcus Mack, I appreciate you. Emilio Jr., my eldest. Inasia, appreciate you. Cameron Denon, appreciate you. Check us out. Episode 17. Remember, click, like, subscribe, comment on all social media platforms. And we appreciate the support. Have a good night, guys.
Peace.
Oh, sugar honey iced tea. It's the EAC Show.